and I am going to get started. To introduce myself, I'm the Associate Dean of Biology Master's Education, and I direct this Biotech Master's program as well. We'll start off with Holly. Holly, why don't you introduce yourself next?
Hi, yes, Jackie. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you might be joining us from. My name's Holly. I'm a graduate recruitment counselor for Brown's master's programs here at the Division of Masters and Professional Programs. Nice to see you.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Gulben Capolino, the Associate Director of the Biotech Master's Program. I oversee admissions, recruitment, and co-curricular programs. And I want to highlight, before I came to this position, I actually held biotech roles as a research scientist and group leader, as well as program manager. So I'm really happy to join in today and happy to answer questions, especially if you have any questions how this program can help you prepare for careers in biotechnology. And look forward to it, Jackie.
All right. So a common question I get when students are considering a master's in biotech, what is this program in particular going to do for you? I'm not just talking about general masters in biotech. I'm speaking specifically about our program because it is very unique. And I love to give, I'm a scientist, engineer scientist, so I like data and I like sharing examples with our prospective students about what this degree can do for you. And the short answer is, what are you interested in? We can help you get there, especially if we're thinking about getting a job in industry, getting into a PhD program, and even getting into med school. So some examples of this. We had a student, he wanted to go to med school, which we all know is one of the most competitive things to get into. When he was leaving undergrad, he did not have a strong enough application to be competitive for med school. So he came to Brown, did the Master's of Science, did a really fabulous cutting edge thesis working with a cancer research physician here at Brown who actually leads our cancer center. After doing the program, he didn't only get into a med program, he got into an MD PhD program, which is even more competitive. Another student, she went to a really good undergraduate program, had a decent GPA, applied for PhD programs, one of which she applied to was our PhD program at Brown, but her application was just not strong enough to get into a PhD program. As I was meeting with all of our prospective students, accepted students, I asked her what she wanted to do. We talked about her desire to do a PhD, and I explained to her why this program really sets you up to be successful in your PhD application. She went through the program, did really fantastic research on neurodegeneration and drug targets. After doing the program, she got accepted into 5 PhD programs. As I was working with her on her PhD applications, she would say things like, I wish everything I had now I had earlier, just highlighting how much the program really prepared her for that success. Finally, another student went to a great college in Massachusetts, studying neuroscience. While she was entering into her senior year, she both applied to this master's program at Brown, as well as doing a job search. Applied to many jobs, came up short on the jobs. Came here, did the master's. After she did the Master's of Science with thesis, she did a co-op. Afterwards, she got 9 job offers. Her starting salary was $90K, not including bonus, relocations, and benefits. Students will often just send us feedback about their experience in the program years after graduation. And this was a nice quote sent by one of the students talking about how much this puts you ahead of the game than those who are just graduating college. So if you stop listening, why? Just hear this one thing to keep for the rest of the day. Why this program will do this is because it's unique. You won't find other programs like the biotech program at Brown. You won't find a program that has in-depth thesis research that teaches you so many different skills coupled with a co-op. And yes, you can do both. And we encourage students to do both with our industry relevant curriculum. Those things make us very unique amongst our competitors and really sets you up for success. Okay, so what do we offer? We have 2 degrees, the Master's of Science and the Masters of Arts. Domestic students can do the program part-time. And then within these two degrees, you can do a science track or you can do a management track. And the track really has to do how you're focusing your coursework, and it can have to do with how you're focusing your thesis as well, which we can talk about. Okay, so a little bit about our program. We are a large program. We have 143 students, even though we are a large program, which includes both fifth year as well as external students, students not from Brown undergraduate. We have a really close-knit community where we still get to know each other. Our courses are small so that you're not feeling like you're lost in the crowd. But yes, we are a big program. Most of our students are doing the Master of Science. We have some doing the Masters of Arts. And then we also have part-time students as well. We have over 80 research advisors you can work with within our program. Keep that number in mind. I will explain that a little bit later, I promise. Okay, so what do the degrees look like? What are the credits? So at Brown, more or less one course equals 1 credit. So you are doing, for both degrees, it's 8 credits over 2 years. If you are an external student, fifth year students, you're doing 6 credits over 1 to 1.5 years, depending on if you choose the co-op option. And it's flexible for domestic students, those 2 years. You can speed it up a bit if it makes sense and it will help you hit your career goals. And if you want to take a little bit longer, if you're domestic, that's absolutely fine. The main difference you see between these two degrees is that research, written thesis, oral defense, that's part of the Master's of Science degree. Very common question is the cost of tuition. At the Brown Biotech program, you pay per course. This is for fifth year students as well as 2-year students. And this is the current cost per credit. You take 8 credits, 6 credits if you're a fifth year student. So this gives you the cost for the 8 credits. We are comparable to many programs and cheaper than a lot of other students. For our 2-year students, those who are not the fifth year students, you are eligible for merit scholarships. And there's no extra application to be reviewed for a merit scholarship. Both domestic and international students, we review your application material to look for top students, and we can offer that 1 credit. Fifth year students, you have 2 credits that are automatically taken off, so your tuition is a bit cheaper, but you're not eligible for merit scholarships. This coming year, there may be financial aid considerations. I don't have answers on that yet, but it may be a possibility for the fall 2026 academic year. Okay, so why Brown? I gave you a little snippet of the information of what makes this program so unique. But these are the main factors that I think will help you understand how the Brown experience is so unique and really prepares our students to be successful. So the first thing is our curriculum. We have at Brown an open curriculum for undergrads, and for the Biotech Master's program, we follow a very similar sort of policy, if you will. So I told you there's 2 degrees, the Master's of Science and the Master's of Arts. Within both of them, as I said, you're doing 8 credits. Within the Master of Science, so 3 of those credits can be used towards graduate independent study. The Master's of Arts is just coursework. So as I mentioned, what's nice about our program, even though we're a large program, we do have nice small classes that are capped at about 20 students. So you get to know your faculty, you get to know your peers in the program really well. And you have a lot of choices for those 5 structured classes within the Master's of Science degree. As I said, you could take those very specific biotech courses that are really small, more discussion-based. But if you're not interested in those courses, and there's courses that are of interest to you in neuroscience, or even chemistry, if you're interested in there, or computer science, you have flexibility to customize your curriculum a little bit more to make it exactly what you want for your biotech master's degree. As I said, no required courses within the Master's of Science curriculum. You get to make your curriculum, and we're always there to help you choose what sort of courses will help you learn what you need to learn. So I just have this list here to impress on you the number of courses you can take within the biotech program without getting permission from your academic advisor. And the courses differ so much from, bio, the eukaryotic cell, to biotech IP, to stem cell biology to polymer science to molecular genetics to innovation and commercialization to environmental health. There's so many different options. And this is just the list that you don't have to get permission to take. As I said, there's other courses you can ask your advisor about taking, and we approve courses all the time. I have a student this semester who was interested in taking a course on the origins of life, which is in environmental science. He pitched to me why it's relevant and how it's going to help him understand more molecular level science, and I did approve it, but he also has a lot of other biotech courses to help support that. One of the best courses I think our program has is our experiential learning and industry course. It's actually not a course, it is a co-op experience where you work 6 months in industry, you earn a salary, and you're getting course credit. Across national surveying, it shows that over 50% of co-ops do lead to full-time positions. And what's nice about our co-op program is, first off, you can work at any company that is of interest to you. I'll tell you about our exclusive partnerships in the next slide, but if there's a company or a location you're interested in, and you can get hired in that co-op, absolutely you can do that. You're not stuck with just the biotech partners. You have a lot of options. Currently we have, I didn't update the slide, we have 5 exclusive partnerships for the biotech program, which includes companies like Pfizer, AbbVie, Arthur D. Little, which is a consulting company, Organogenesis, which is more focused towards students who are interested in the management side of biotech, as well as a company called ScienceGo. So what's nice about these companies we've partnered directly with is these positions at these companies are only advertised to our biotech students. There's no other way for people to apply to these positions except through us. So what does that mean? It means you're only competing internally for co-op positions. And to add to it, you are, you know that your resume and your cover letter will be read. We have another associate director in addition to Professor Capolino, Professor Krigo, who his role is professional development and industry outreach to help you become the most competitive for co-ops. And he's the one who's helping to increase the number of exclusive partnerships we have within our biotech program. All right, I don't know. Yes, I have a question on the chat. Are international students eligible for these co-ops? Yes, international students are absolutely available to do these co-ops. Some semesters we have more international students than domestic students doing the co-op. What are the limitations? There are limitations on, as an international student, when you can do the co-op. And it depends on, is it a new visa that you have? Is it a visa you're transferring from undergrad? And based on that answer, you can do it first, second, or third semester. In some circumstances, we can do it in the 4th semester, your last semester in the program, but it is a little bit more difficult. Okay. So it doesn't look like there's more open questions, so I'll just keep going until more questions come. All right, the next part that makes our degree so unique is the research focus of the program. Oh, and before I forget, if you are a 5th-year student who wants to do a co-op and you're international, that is actually not a possibility. That's not the biotech program's role. This is actually just the regulation for full-time versus part-time, because in the 5th-year program, you'd be required to go up less than part-time if you're doing the co-op. There are some ways for us to try to balance this a bit, which I could talk to about individually with students, but basically what it means is you have to do the 2-year program, but that also means you lose your tuition credits. Individual 5th-year students who are interested in that, I think I should talk individually with you on that. Okay. So 5th-year, research. What makes this degree unique is the research focus of this degree. When students look at our curriculum in the Master of Science and they say 8 credits over 2 years, okay, that means 2 credits per semester. and only 5 of them have to be structured classes. How difficult are these courses? Am I going to be dying in these courses? And the answer is no, the courses are not extra difficult, and that's not why your course load is so light. The reason your course load is so light is so that you have maximum time to perform thesis research. Because we believe that, yes, there's great classroom learning you can do, but what you learn from doing an independent research project is going to make you so competitive for the next step, whether it's industry or research. And we can see how our students benefit from this is when you look at our cohort of students, you can see within this time frame we had 127 master students and 128 publications out of this group. Last year's graduating class, about 25% of our students published their work within the time they were still in the program. That number always goes up as it can take time to publish your research. But this is really a testament to that. Our students are doing high quality work that is recognized and is going to help you with the next step in your program. What's great about Brown is that you can work in any research area within the biotech program. What's different, as I mentioned earlier, we have over 80 faculty you can work with, and that number goes up every single year. Why? Because the biotech program is not just within a single department within the university. It's actually a program that spans the whole, basically what we call the division, what you would call a school of biology and medicine, which includes the med school, 7 departments within biology. Students work in engineering, school of public health, and they can also work at our affiliated hospitals. So students can join groups at Rhode Island Hospital, Women and Infants, Butler Hospital, the VA, all sorts of different hospitals associated with Brown. So the sky is the limit in terms of what you can work with on and who you can work for or with on your thesis. Some students who are interested in med school will go and work with a physician scientist to understand med school and understand the life of a physician better. Students who are interested in PhD programs will join labs of faculty who often take PhD students so they can learn from different students and their faculty better. Okay. Why Brown? I'm going to keep going and then we can see questions as they come in. I think one of the things that makes Brown unique at the undergrad level, Brown is always known as a happy place. You'll see the same thing within our graduate education. I actually did my PhD at Brown in biomedical engineering, and it was such a supportive, and still is obviously, but as a grad student, I felt like it was a very supportive, collaborative, welcoming environment. My friends who were in other PhD programs would comment about how it looked like I was living the dream in grad school and how my experience doesn't really model other people's experiences. And they would wonder, like, am I productive? Are we productive? And yes, we were having top publications and things like that. But it's just about the environment is much more supportive and student-centered than lots of other places. As a student in the biotech program, you have access to all the different facilities that the Ivy League Division I school offers. We have so many different clubs that you can become a part of. Anything you're interested in, Brown has it. You're interested in, are you a donut lover? We have a donut club. We have like a open mic club. Everything you might be interested in, we have. We also have our own biotech student organization, Biotech Club, that you can be a part of, which runs social events. We try to do them pretty regular within the semester. They also do a mentoring pairing of our students when they come in so that you can learn from a first-year student can learn from a second-year student, etc. Public service groups, graduate student only bar, great stuff to be involved. And Holly has even more information on this later. All right, the last 2 things I'll talk about is the Brown name and location. So why do you care about the Brown name? It's really about giving your degree recognition. In addition to the great things you'll learn within the program and all the skills you gain and the experience you gain, having a Brown degree does help you with placement. And we see this with our students. They're placing very well. Here I have 157 students that we are tracking. What you'll notice is only 2.5% is unemployed / not tracked. And I can't emphasize this enough. Our students are finding great placement. And this is our data. This isn't, well, students in general in a biotech program find good placement. This is our data that is showing that our students are doing very well in getting jobs after. And that 2.5% is both students we can't get a hold of. Maybe they move back home, maybe they're off the grid, whatever it is, we can't get in track of them. And those who are unemployed. And you can see where our students are going, which are really great places: business consulting, grad school, industry, MD, research, etc. Finally, if you're not from the area, what about Providence? Providence is a cute little city. And what the university, the main part of the campus that you would be spending most of your time is very residential. Yes, you're in Providence, but you feel like you're in a suburb, even though it is the city of Providence. Right down the hill is where it's more looking like this part of the campus, or there's some buildings down here where Holly has a beautiful office down there. And there's a lot of life. There's great restaurants, music scenes. I always tell students, talk to other students and learn about Providence, because I'm boring and I can't give you good advice on this, but we're close to Boston, a few hours from New York City, and we have lots to do. All right, Holly, I'm handing off to you. I don't think there's really questions. I know Gullbank's answering a question about, can you do co-ops in different locations? And the answer is yes, you can do it. Lots of our co-ops are in Boston. We have some that are remote accessible right now, but yes, you can, wherever you find the co-op, you can do if it works for you. Holly, do you want to take over?
Yes, thank you, Jackie. Thank you everyone for joining today. And I did see already some questions about the application. So we're going to get to that in a couple of slides, but I did just want to kind of highlight, again, the kind of vast resources and network that you have as a support for you as a student here at Brown beyond the program. You know, I like to talk about it in terms of like an umbrella of support. Is that someone that you have directly working with you in your curriculum, which is your advisor and the program director? And then kind of ripple effect from there is that we have, if we want to go to the next slide, Jackie, our Center for Master Students Excellence team. So this is a lovely group of individuals that can help you from anything from academic affairs to personal affairs to career services and professional development. You can see here, and I just want to have you familiarize yourself with these faces, because as a grad student, for being here for maybe 2 years, it goes by really quickly. And we always recommend kind of hitting the ground running first, weeks or so of classes. Is really making those connections, especially with the resources that you have here. So our Assistant Dean of Student Affairs, Janae, and our Deputy Dean, Joel and Janae, are two great individuals that can touch on any sort of sensitive matters that you might be experiencing as a student, or just kind of looking for more general belonging. This group of individuals also helps host webinars and in-person events across campus to encourage not only just cross-departmental belonging and support and belonging, but also just master students familiarizing themselves with each other, because it is unlike being an undergraduate student. I think it's a little unique being a part of this program because of your selection of courses, frankly. So you're taking classes in already kind of in a cross-departmental fashion, and also with that being said, meeting students in kind of our sister programs like biomed or engineering. But if we want to go to the next slide, I can kind of highlight the core functions of this team a little bit more clearly. So yes, beyond what Dr. Capolino and the team over at the biotech program can offer in terms of professional development, of looking at industries that you might want to get into, this team for professional development can help identify your career options if you're, still just kind of in the early stages of that and you've just finished undergraduate, or if you're also more of like a mid-career professional who has had experience and then is looking at different options post-graduation with this advanced degree. And especially, I think this is a really helpful resource, particularly for international students who might not be familiar with the job market in America, with preparing for interviews in industries that they aren't familiar with. So Komal and her team, and Amanda, as well as Carmen can help you identify those kind of industries that are might be more STEM specific or might be more government or in the public sector. And additionally, and I love to highlight this too, because it really is uncommon in the master's institutional landscape of the level of support that you have, particularly as a master's student. So being a graduate student is a little different than being an undergraduate student. Master's students can sometimes feel a little lost in the sauce, but our team really works hard at providing programming, providing opportunities for you to feel a part of campus and to feel like you have a group of individuals that if you don't know where to go to, or you're having a problem or you need assistance, that they can direct you to the right campus resource, such as student accessibility services or our Office of International Students and Scholars, as well as like requesting accommodations, looking at leaves of absence, God forbid, or even emergency funding, which is really helpful, especially when you're considering that you're a graduate student working probably at least part-time and trying to maintain a balanced financial wellness in your lifestyle. Beyond that, I just want to pause for a second, actually, because I just saw a question in the Q&A that just touched on this. Is it possible to be working full-time while being a part-time student in the program, or would that not be recommended? Especially considering that the co-op is an option that is like a part-time job. And Jackie, you can also jump in and add any sort of clarity if you'd like, but it is possible to work part-time. I think that it would be difficult to be full-time.
I'm going to correct you on this, Holly.
Okay,
Sorry
please.
to jump in. We have full-time working students. They do the part-time track. What's nice about our part-time program is it's only 1 credit per semester. So it's very, very easy to do. And like I said, we have students who work in many different industries, whether they're research assistants here at Brown, or I have people working in banking, like not like teller banking, but real banking. I have students who work as scientists at Pfizer, as consultants at different companies. So definitely you can do the program working full-time and taking part-time program within the program. And because it is only 1 credit per semester, you want to be doing the co-op and the thesis we can weave in depending on your priorities. And that's something we work on as you're part of the program.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie, for that clarification. I think that if you are considering an on-campus job, there are limits for that reason, though. So if you're looking at not the co-op, just kind of a regular campus job, I know that there's been some questions about like graduate assistantships or teaching assistantships. Those are usually capped at 20 hours. That is not only just for international students with visas, but also just in general. It is uncommon to be able to work full-time in a master's program, so that's typically why it's not that flexible. But I'm glad that Jackie corrected me on that flexibility. And then another question here about can the merit scholarship be gained throughout the 2 years, or can it be given in the first semester?
It's only given we only review for the first semester. As I mentioned, no promises now, but there is some consideration about how we can better give financial aid for students. This is a project for next admission cycle, but once again, it's not guaranteed. But the scholarship, all students are considered for the first semester for their scholarship. If for some financial reason you are awarded a scholarship, say in the fall, and you want to defer it to the spring semester, that's fine. But there's only 1/8 scholarship during your time.
Yeah, and I'm also going to be putting in a plug for some master's events about budgeting in grad school, where we invite our director of graduate financial aid, Chris Gilbody, to talk a little bit about payment plans, about private loans for international and domestic students. So that'll be a really great conversation also to kind of visualize what it looks like budgeting for your degree, especially over a long period of time. And you're also only paying for classes at the speed at which you're taking them. So that is also something to consider. I would love if we could start talking about the application requirements, because I don't see any other questions about in our chat right now. But what does a completed application look like in total? This is really easily a screenshotable slide. It's also available on virtually every department website that you can find, but just a really easy snapshot of what you're looking for a completed application. Our next deadline is coming up on April 15th. So between now and then, we will be offering admissions at a rolling or admissions and notifications at a rolling basis, usually starting in late January, early February, kind of depending on what the pool looks like. But we will need a copy of all of your unofficial transcripts for degree-seeking courses, a personal statement that has a specific prompt that will be accessible in the application, a copy of your CV and resume, 3 letters of recommendation, 2 if you're a 5th-year student, but you should know that perk already. If you don't, we can talk offline about that. And then in a copy of a English language proficiency exam in the form of the TOEFL or the IELTS. Unfortunately, Duolingo is not accepted, so we only accept these 2 forms and platforms, and those scores must be at least 2 years or newer. Typically, especially with learning a new language, especially if it's not your native one, we always recommend retaking that because your skills have probably improved, and a score that's 2 years old doesn't appear as the most updated or maybe the most factual. So on the next slide, we can go a little bit more in depth about what else you need to consider upon submitting your application. You don't have to worry about an application fee because for attendance for the session, it is automatically waived. So if you have not started an application yet already, you will not see that application fee waiver until you actually formally start an application. So if you are interested in this program, you meet kind of the basic qualifications and you are ready to submit and not procrastinate, we would love to assist you in that. I can definitely assist people either through application advising or through email. But again, really recommend starting an application and also looking at each component of it so that you can complete the application and also use it to the best of your advantage for creating a strong application. The GRE is not required. This is a standard that is not very consistent across a lot of our master's programs. So if you are considering other programs, you might see these qualifications are different. For the biotech program, it's really not even suggested to submit your GRE scores if you are trying to counteract maybe a lower academic performance or a lower GPA. The GRE is just not going to be a great metric in helping in that regard. Otherwise, I would say maybe talk about some academic context in the part of the application that requires that or in your personal statement. And beyond that, official transcripts are only required if you receive an admissions decision and that you are offered a placement in class. That is looking like a few months down the line, so do not need to submit those yet or request those, especially if you are an undergraduate and you're still in the process of taking courses. Your unofficial transcripts should show those courses in progress. And finally, for international students, this is also a really common barrier with submitting an application is that an international evaluation is not required upon submission. So as much as we do need the translated transcripts, the full course by course evaluation is not going to be required until you are offered to enroll. And I think lastly, as much as, we'll talk a little bit about our admissions process really being truly holistic and what that actually means in direct terms, this program does have a minimum TOEFL and IELTS score that is also accessible within the application. This is something that I think Jackie and I really believe in being clear and kind, that if your minimum scores do not meet this threshold, that we really recommend withholding your application. Your English language proficiency is going to be a huge factor in being a successful graduate student and to not be a barrier in your success. So this is a clear and kind of guidance that if you're around this range, that you can continue working on your English proficiency and maybe apply again when you have improved on that. We want to ensure an equitable and holistic review, but also don't want to advise incorrectly or to give false hope. So that being said, that school code is listed below there and also listed within the application, so it's not a number that you have to remember. I'm going to pause here just to look at some questions as I see they're coming in. Questions about there is not a priority deadline. So It just means that you will be needing to submit by April 15th, May 1st if you're a fifth year student. Some of our other engineering biomed programs do have priority deadlines, so just keep in mind that this is different, wholly separate, no priority deadline. It is rolling though, which means that if you submit early, then you receive that decision early. And suggestions for, yeah, if you are, so typically as far as if you're an undergraduate right now and you're a senior, that's when you are typically applying for master's programs. We do accept deferrals, but those aren't typically people applying earlier in their undergraduate. It's people who are truly seniors, ready to start their cohort immediately, pretty much upon graduating. So if you are looking at June of 2027, I would say wait to submit your application because we aren't filling cohorts that far in advance, but I appreciate that question. And as far as the acceptance rates, they really differ quite widely, especially because we have a spring intake 2, which that deadline has passed. But between, kind of changes in higher ed right now and also times of the year, other programs also have in institutions and competitive programs have different deadlines. The acceptance rate really varies each year. So we don't publish that and we actually don't even keep track of it because it's such a variable number.
And I'll say sometimes students are afraid that the acceptance rate. So we are a competitive program. We are looking for excellent students, but sometimes people are convoluting us with the Brown undergraduate acceptance rate of 0.1% or whatever Brown undergrad is. And so I don't want you to feel that way. We're looking for great, talented students who have shown that they can do well as an undergraduate to really come in here and do a great job, regardless of where you went as your undergrad, like where you don't have to have been coming from an Ivy League to come to Brown. We take students from great state colleges, great colleges that aren't state colleges here, like prestigious colleges from the Ivy Leagues for sure. So don't let the acceptance rate be, it doesn't make sense to let that be a deferral, a deterrent, or a something that encourages you. I just encourage you to apply.
Yeah, thank you for that addition, Jackie. I think that is a reputation that precedes us, is that the undergrad, with the mass amount of applications, we do not get that amount of applications for undergrad, especially because our master's community is so small. You're looking at 20,000 versus maybe 3,000 total for master's students. So it is a completely different caliber, but that's also why we don't look at acceptance rates because it's really just not a measure of how competitive the program is. I do see a couple questions about the TOEFL scores, and I just want to make sure that I'm just being super clear. Yes, so these minimum scores are program specific. Brown University and the graduate school has policies that set minimums at a baseline. So the baseline is 90 for the TOEFL and 7 for the IELTS. The program minimum specific score is based on competition and based on the nature and in rigorousness of the program. So as much as you might meet the Brown University minimum or meet another program's minimum, it does not meet the biotech minimum. So if you are not in that area, please withhold your application and improve in other ways. Find other workshops, find other ways to improve in your English language literacy. And if your exam again is more than 2 years old, I see someone said they took it in October 2021. That is 4 years old, which means you definitely have to take it again.
But that person, Holly, went to a US institution. So if you're coming, once again, please visit our website.
Right.
Holly will share, has very specific information. If you studied in the United States, you don't need an English proficiency exam. If your school, if the language of instruction was English in a non-US institution, you don't need the proficiency exam.
Yes,
If your
and there
country's
are
language is English, you don't need the proficiency exam. Go ahead.
exactly. And there are a list of countries that are exempt from that, and that's listed everywhere on our website as well. It's also an automatic process within the application, so it's not like you need to take any extra step to request a waiver. If you are answering accurately and correctly, the application will automatically require it from you or automatically not require it from you. And usually we just don't list that list of countries, but we will be covering that in every website and also in our future Belong at Brown sessions. So we do have one later on today that goes a little bit deeper into like a workshop about the application. And yeah, I think Jackie had mentioned that she would love to consult with fifth years separately from this conversation, just because, again, with creating your own curriculum and the amount of flexibility within the program, fifth year students is just a different kind of process. So we'd love to just chat offline about that.
Yeah, any fifth year student, email me. There's a link in my calendar. I'm happy to talk to you about that.
And the note below the application fee waiver is saying that your application fee is waived for attendance of the session. If you have any other questions about that, you can feel free to email me. But I thought that was pretty clear. Otherwise, I think that we can go on to the next slide, just talking a little bit more about the personal statement and letters recommendation. Particularly, this program is also welcoming towards more mid-career professionals or those who aren't graduating straight from undergrad. So two questions that we get probably the most often is how do I write the personal statement and who do I ask for my letters of recommendation? Of course, this is going to be a little bit more program specific. So depending on other programs or other career goals that you're looking at, you might see other guidance, but for this program, we are looking for at least 2 recommendations that come from an academic professor or a supervisor, someone that can speak to your academic strength, and at least one being from a professional or supervisor reference. That being said, there are students who have taken gap years, who again are more mid-career professionals, and they have stronger letters of recommendation with industry professionals, with people who have worked directly with them. And we always recommend, if you're looking at a letter recommendation that's stronger with someone that knows you better, a stronger letter recommendation looks better than it coming from someone with a PhD or needing to come from an academia kind of context. With that being said, we always recommend submitting those recommendations and requests early, providing your recommenders with deadlines for the program, with your personal statement, with your personal goals, and having them understand why this program is right for you. You're talking about that in your personal statement too. So you're basically just sharing the same information that you're sharing with the admissions committee, helping your recommender know what parts of your candidacy, parts of your skills, and your qualifications they want to highlight in their letter to help it fit within the context of what we're looking for in this program. This personal statement is particular to the biotech program. We see this often enough where students are applying to multiple programs and they're copying and pasting the personal statement. This is a pro tip, and I'll say it here and I'll say it everywhere. Please proofread. You are looking at graduate level coursework and writing. If we see errors, we see spelling errors, that is not a great look, especially because you're looking at a graduate level degree. This is also a STEM level degree, so as much as this is an English language writing, it is still a graduate level coursework. So you are not only using your own professional discretion of highlighting all of your amazing qualities and why the program's right for you, but you're also talking a little bit more about like your personal motivations, about why you've decided to study biotech. You might have a personal, character arc story that would be creative, opportunity to put in your personal statement, which we love to see, but also we love to see that balance of looking more at a technical letter that shows that you can be successful in a graduate level coursework and program. We get that question a lot, especially because we're looking at a population of people that survived the pandemic, that have gone through, geopolitical kind of matters. So we just say, use your best discretion when talking about personal circumstances in your personal statement, and also making sure that it really ties into your goals as a student and as a professional. Don't go crazy with the narrative and kind of get lost in the sauce, because it will be noticeable that you're not really a fit for the program so much as you are just trying to apply to any graduate program. This program is unique. You can create your own curriculum. You have a wide array of courses. It is unlike our competitor programs. So if you're doing research in the program, you see research areas that interest you, faculty that are doing research that you're interested in, that'd be a great opportunity to talk in your personal statement as well. Beyond that, and again, as promised, we'll talk a little bit about what a holistic application review looks like on the next slide, please. So holistic application review is really at the heart of it, honoring that no application and no applicant is perfect. There's not a desire to see a perfect 4.0 or a perfect kind of trend in your grades. Of course, we do have a minimum GPA of 3.0, which is a little softer of a requirement. We have seen cases of students being admitted with like a 2.9 or a 2.96, but with very strong justification, with very strong letters of recommendation, with a really clear narrative that says, I understand where I was not successful. I have worked on tutoring. I improved my application and my my experience in school in X, Y, and Z. If you can spell that out in a clear narrative and in a way that is compelling, that shows that you can be ready for graduate level coursework despite a history of lower academic performance, then of course you can be admitted. Again, of course, considering other in all parts of your application equally, that is not a guarantee, but a truly subjective case. With that being said, again, this is also a rolling admissions program, so submitting early is to your advantage, and we also don't recommend to procrastinate. So beyond that, Jackie, did you want to add anything else to this?
Yeah, so I do like to emphasize that the GPA, this is an area where you'll have more scrutiny if you're below 3.0. It's not impossible if your GPA is below 3.0. I've had many students whose GPA was below 3.0. I've had a 2.7 from engineering in Georgia Tech, which that student was one of the smartest students we've ever had in the program, because we know Georgia Tech, for example, is a really difficult school. So we're looking at your GPA always in context too of the strength of your undergraduate education. We've had students who had lower GPAs, they've worked for many years and then are going back to school. And at that point, we care a lot more about your experience as an adult working than we do about your GPA 6 years ago, which was a bit on the lower side. So I also say don't, if your GPA is low, below 3.0, and you don't have other things to boost it, maybe consider how you could boost your GPA. But don't let the GPA be the end all be all for applying to the program. That's it.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie, for that addition. Particularly too, I think that just really highlights that each part of your application really is important. We've seen a really high performing students that have letters of recommendation that are vague, and that is also something to consider, that you're not making or haven't really kept connections with faculty or with academic professors, which is a huge asset to our cohort. Brown really is a collaborative and happy place to be. And when choosing students for a cohort, that is really a factor that is considered. I have a question here. Asking for a letter recommendation from my current employer will likely put my job at risk. Do we have to include a letter recommendation from industry supervisors? Obviously, I want to make sure that you are making decisions that are right for you. So if that is going to put your job at risk, then I would recommend maybe that not being the best decision. But it doesn't need to be a letter recommendation from industry supervisors. It's really the people that know you best and can speak to your skills the best. Jackie, do you want to add anything to that?
Oh, Mike, I'll let you chime in as somebody who worked at industry, who supervised employees. Would this have been something that would put people you worked with at risk, or how would you have felt as someone who did apply to schools, MBA programs, as somebody working?
Yeah, I think it's case specific and manager specific, as well as company culture specific. I think it depends how comfortable the person is to discuss their career development and goals with their advisor. For me personally, no, I would love actually anyone that worked for me to, keep growing and be supportive. But again, it's really, I think, manager specific. But I will say if this person is considering a part-time application, the company, especially the company, might be welcoming that growth spirit. So that might be something that just to consider.
Yeah. And, with the part-time program, you can just take one credit. We have some online options through our other master's program I oversee. So you can do courses online. You have the option to take courses that are later in the day, earlier in the day. So maybe you know this person very well, your supervisor, better than we do, but make sure that you could ask other people's opinion in your environment about, hey, if I asked blah, blah, blah for a recommendation, what would they say? Because if it can strengthen your application and you need it to strengthen your application, then it may be worth it.
I can also add, and I have done this or have seen this as well in my experience. If you have someone else that is at a that you work collaboratively closely, that is at a good level to be able to give you a recommendation that's not necessarily your direct manager, you can also reach out to them. There's always sometimes people that are supporting you on the sidelines that is not your manager. So that might also be a good option to reach out in your workplace too.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you both for those insights. So usually at this point, I love to kind of plug just some upcoming events that we're hosting from our master's recruitment side who kind of deal with the entire portfolio of master's programs. So from a broader sense of what master's life is like at Brown, later today we are hosting an application workshop that dives a little bit deeper into some of these components of the application, like how to write a really strong personal statement, and also how and who to ask for your letters of recommendation. We are hosting a Meet a Master student webinar next week, which a biotech student will be there as a representation. So we would love to invite you to that to get a little bit more direct student insight. We will be hosting a team webinar actually with our professional development team in December with Komal and Caitlin, and as well as that session that I briefly talked about earlier, financing your degree with the Director of Financial Aid, Chris Gilbody. You can schedule one-on-one appointments with me via Zoom to talk about your application, especially if you're looking at our portfolio of biomed programs in general. We are seeing, especially with the kind of changing of industries, that people are looking more into these kind of biomed programs and deciding between which one is right for you, either more on a data science side or more on a technical side. I can definitely help you and our team can help you determine which program might be right for you. We are also hosting application office hours, which are more like a virtual chat, a little less formal than a meeting, but an opportunity to see what other people are asking about the application. And finally, you can also just email me. You don't have to meet in a meeting via Zoom. I am happy to answer questions strictly through email. Sometimes some things are easier in a meeting, but of course I can be flexible and accommodate, especially for international folks with some different time zones. So I'm going to put my email in the chat. Truly welcome any questions that you have that aren't covered in this session. And I think we can go into the next 2 slides just to kind of show our contact information. And I'm also going to copy and paste this FAQ page for the program that goes a little bit more in depth about the program itself. And I know we have about 5 minutes here. We have been answering questions throughout, but if you did have any last minute questions here, I would love to answer them here, or we can also just end and we can connect offline for anything that maybe wasn't covered here. Just leave it for another minute. And I did forget to mention at the beginning that you will be getting a copy of this presentation in your email. So if you had anything that you want to refer back to, you'll get that in about 3 days and it'll be posted to our YouTube account.
Great having you all. Good luck.
Yes.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you all for joining. Okay. Well, have a lovely day and we'll be connecting soon. Take care.
Oh,
Bye, everyone.
hi, everyone.
Bye.